Welcome back to the College Sports Recruiting Podcast Special Edition today with Coach Corbin Bowers, part two of the interview. We're very excited to have him on. Obviously, once again, congratulations on a phenomenal season. Runner-up, national runner-up, D2 men's soccer. So we're very excited to dive in some nuances a little deeper
Yeah,
and really hear more from Coach what it takes to be a successful athlete, soccer player in the United States at a college, but also then from a coach's perspective, how the entire recruiting process and then throughout the season, what they focus on. Their game plans, their road to victory, so to speak, looks like. But maybe we can jump right back into it. And now that we've covered the first half of the interview, discussing a little more the success you had last year. Tell us a little bit more about the future. What's that going to look like? What are the plans going forward? What's the recruiting for future seasons going to look like?
yeah, great. I think that's a good transition into the next stage of this and knowing what to expect. For us, recruiting is massive every year, and I would say even more so important this season now that we're funneling out of COVID seasons and guys that have been here for a long time and built the program. We lose a lot of numbers and a lot of important roles within the squad. So like any other year, but maybe a higher emphasis this season, the recruiting class is going to be very important for us to get back to the national final again in 2025. So the staff's already working very hard. We have been all fall trying to zero in on what we need. At the highest level, maybe you guys can understand there's just so much change. Guys going Division 1, guys going pro early, maybe people staying in their home country. So our needs change all the time. So even yesterday, we thought we were done recruiting a certain position, and back to recruiting that. So now we'll be looking. I'll just say we'll be looking for a right winger, which we weren't expecting to in this class, and now we are. So it changes. It's demanding. We're looking for the best players in the country, the best players in the world to come and join us. We're competing with a lot of really good programs, so it's important for us to tell our story and help guys realize why Charleston could be the best fit for them.
I think one important point that I'd like to hone in on what you just said is that you've already been heavily recruiting and doing your research in the fall. So that's during the actual season, right?
Yeah, so we obviously at that point we know who's graduating, who's out of seasons of eligibility. We've after a few games realized what maybe our weaknesses are, what we need to add depth or what we need more quality of. So we then start to speak to all the recruiting services and our connections across the world to find those what we call in our program profiles, which is just basically a person that fits a position, an age, style of play, and that kind of word for us is a profile.
And how would you approach the recruiting process differently when it comes to US/American players versus international players, somebody from, let's say, Germany, Austria, Switzerland?
Yeah, I think for similar for both is just telling a story of who we are because even here in the US, West Virginia is not maybe the most known and most popular state. So if we see somebody out from a different state, we have to tell them who we are. A lot of people haven't heard of Charleston even within the US. So sending them videos, showing them the Instagram, uh, feeding their social media needs of seeing who we are and telling our story is really important. They may
You have
understand the
that,
level of
sorry, you have that great song though, right?
yeah,
Take me home, Mountain Road.
yeah, exactly. That's the big one, John. Denver. We actually play that at the end of every road trip on the bus.
What a
um,
song.
yeah, and so we share with them where we are, what Charleston has to offer as the capital of West Virginia, being the capital's university, having the same name, and the benefits that we have there. And then getting them to campus is a little easier for the U.S. players. They can come for a visit. They can come to a camp in the summer and see us firsthand. And then when we transition to recruiting the European, South American, other parts of the world player, it's educating them on the level, what Division 2 is, showing them our games, encouraging them to watch us or watch a season previous game, and then telling them our story of why we are such an elite soccer team. And I think that's what catches the attention initially of a European or South American player. and then filling them in with like the U.S. education and what ours is, a smaller Division II, the personalized experience, the majors that we offer, and maybe the connections within the city and the state. And maybe that's like the first journey. And then for us, it's really important that they follow what we call the 3 Ps: a good person, a good player, and a good pupil, synonym of student.
What's the athletic level you're looking for?
I mean, if you mean like soccer specific, we're looking for guys that have played at the highest level possible in their country within the rules, you know. So we look for guys that have played men's league. You and I were talking on WhatsApp, and I was asking you about a player that was playing like Bayern Liga Süd. So that's like maybe for somebody that's listening from your part of the world, understandable, you know, that and higher. Obviously, we can't recruit pro players, but anybody that's playing at those highest men's league possible is very intriguing to us. And then within here in the U.S., the highest level, that'd be MLS Next, that'd be ECNL, guys that can contribute right away and have had a good academy background here, a good academy background at their home country, and then playing at the highest level possible to then come to Division II.
I think one interesting point also from our perspective would be knowing whether you as a coach, as you're recruiting students, players to come play for your program, do you make a difference if you are directly working on the one hand with, let's say, a recruiting service and you proactively reach out to them, or you have players proactively contacting you because they've done their research, they found your program, they found your email address and say, hey, here are a few videos that I put together. What's your general or overall approach to players directly contacting you?
Yeah, I would say, because myself and our head coach and our staff have been doing this a long time, especially the head coach and I, we're open to everything. As you can imagine, being such a successful program, we get a lot of contact. I think our head coach on average receives probably 2,000 to 3,000 emails per year of players wanting to come. So we have to filter it somehow. And so our staff divides it into parts of the world, or for example, I deal with all the transfers. So if you're a transfer, you automatically talk to me. If you're from South America, you talk to me with me being able to speak Spanish, and then each coach kind of has their own recruiting territory. We're okay with people reaching out. Typically, it gets funneled to the right coach so that your email doesn't get lost. And then we try to take the time to evaluate your video, your email, your resume, and then get back to you if you're a good fit or not. As you guys can understand, I mean, recruiting services helps us filter a little bit, and we have ones that we trust. We've built relationships here for years and years, and so we tend to trust those guys as well if they have a high-level player. But a player reaching out directly to us is no problem. You're going to have contact with one of our coaches. You're going to get an honest evaluation. We're not going to waste anyone's time, and if we're interested in you, then we're going to proceed and get you on the phone or get you on Zoom and build a relationship with you. And I think it's sometimes scary to hear, but if you're not the right fit for us, we're going to let you know early so that you can move on to the next program or somebody that is focused on you.
I think on that point, it's very important also for the listeners because we want to give them some hands-on advice. And how because 2,000 emails, that's a lot, right?
Yeah.
How does somebody really catch the coach's team, the staff's attention? Because we all know the first impression is the one that matters the most, right? You probably don't
Yeah.
want to see like a boilerplate outreach. How does somebody really catch your attention?
Yeah, I would say specific research of our university and our soccer program is more important than a generic email. So it's great for you to tell us who you are, but then what have you seen? You're interested in University of Charleston because we have sport business, or that you notice that we're the capital city and our campus is on the river and it looks like a really nice, beautiful place to live, or you've seen, that we've had a very successful season. Or you could say, hey, I know that you're somebody from Germany, and you say, hey, I noticed that in the past you've had players from Germany on your roster. Or, hey, I'm from Vienna, and I currently see you have somebody on your roster from Vienna. I think that's important, instead of just saying, hey, I want to play at your university, and it looks like you've just sent that to 100 schools. Tell us a little about your background and where you've played, what your strengths are as a player, how you are as a person. What I always ask on every call: what kind of teammate are you? Are you somebody behind the scenes? Are you a leader? Are you the guy that brings the good energy to the locker room? So just tell us a little about yourself as a person. Also, it goes back to our 3 Ps: tell us about your academics specific. I've done this. This is what I've done in Germany. This is my GPA. I have this TOEFL score, which I think are very standard. I think a lot of people do that already, but just be very specific to why you're interested in Charleston and not just reach out of, hey, I want to play there and that's it.
I think that's super actionable advice, right? And I would expect, obviously not being in the coach's shoes, but there's probably not that many that actually take the time to look into it. And that's what Alex and I have been trying to tell all the athletes, not just the soccer players, but athletes in general that we work with. I know it myself, right? If I'm getting a generic email, um, I'm not super excited about it, but if somebody actually takes the time to look into it, I'll make a concerted effort to actually spend time, and even if it's not a good fit, like you said, you'll let them know, and you actually appreciate the effort that they put in. So it's probably not a lot of athletes who do that, because it's a lot easier just to send hundreds of emails to hundreds of different programs and then see what happens, right?
By the way, wenn du herausfinden möchtest, ob du die Voraussetzungen für ein Studium mit Sportstipendium in den USA erfüllst und herausfinden möchtest, in welcher Höhe dein Sportstipendium ausfallen könnte, dann fülle unsere kostenlose Chanceneinschätzung aus. Du findest sie unten in der Beschreibung. Und jetzt geht's zurück zur Episode.
Yeah, absolutely. I think to give you an insight of us this year, we set out with kind of like a phrase that we wanted to be elite at everything that we did. So I think that starts in the recruiting process. If you want to be a part of our program, that means you're elite. So your email needs to be elite. And elite can just be taking 10 minutes on our website, 10 minutes then to go look at our soccer background, and then maybe 5-6 minutes on our Instagram to see. And then that gives you a background of who we are, what you like, and then you can reach out. Because if somebody reaches out to us and says, I'm interested in engineering and I want to play, well, we don't have engineering at Charleston, so it's not going to work out.
Corbin, can you tell us a little bit about your overall recruiting philosophy? Do you recruit only for next season, or do you have a long-term plan? And if we go back to the final against Lynn, I would assume that your recruiting philosophy is a little bit different, because you have freshmen, real freshmen, versus Lynn is heavily recruiting graduate players. So
Yeah.
older guys who are doing their master's education. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think maybe piggybacking off of the first part of our conversation, we want to be as diverse as possible in our team. I think that builds the best environment and it helps us hit all of our needs. So there's no reason to hide it. We also have grad students. We have older players on our team. We have guys that have played at a very high level for a long time before coming to the US, and everything totally fine within the limits of it, Division 2. But I think it's also important for us to have guys from the US on our team, or some younger players that have all 4 years of eligibility that we can use with them. A grad player maybe only has 1 or 2 seasons with us. That's okay, but we also want some guys that are going to be here for 4 years that we can develop and grow and help improve, and we know that we have a long-term project there. This year I think we had, on graduate day, we had maybe 13 players that we celebrated, so that's potentially 13 players that would leave. If we did that every year, it'd be insane. So it's important for us to have 4-year players also. So even if you're from another country, but you have your 4 years of eligibility, you can come do your whole degree here. That's important because we know that we don't have to maybe recruit that position for the long term. But for example, we had a player join us this year just for 1 season. He was a grad transfer. He had spent 4 years at another Division 2. Because of COVID, he had 1 more season. He came and had a great season for us, but he's done. And that's it. We only had him for 1 season, and that's the end of his story with us. And we're having to replace that right away, immediately, 4 months later. So we're looking for a little bit of everything, but it's important that you fit into our 3 Ps. We tell everybody you have to probably be good at 2 of the 3. Be a good player and a good pupil student. If you're 3 out of 3, that's amazing. You're going to be a really good fit for us. If you're only a good player, that's okay, but it's probably not going to work here, because if you're not the best person, you're not the best student, you're going to get found out and maybe fall out of love with Charleston. But we look at everything, and I think for us, maybe we project, I would say, 1.5 years out. Right now we're very focused on recruiting for the 2025 squad, but we have in mind a little bit of what 2026 will need. Other programs obviously can recruit further ahead, but for us, we're focused right now on 2025, and I think by the summer we'll take a turn to then look ahead to 2026 as well.
I just quickly want to jump in because I think that's a crucial point here, what you mentioned earlier also about transfer students, because we talked a little bit about it on the podcast in the past. If I'm an athlete, a player who's just not happy or the university is not a right fit, and I want to leave, let's say after one season, after 2 seasons as an undergrad student, and then approach you, and you said you're responsible on the coaching staff for transfer students. Can you maybe explain that process a little bit and what really my chances are to join a program like yours? As how many transfer students do you have on average?
Yeah.
Because that's also something that we get questions about occasionally. Because yeah, you never know. You can't go into a different country. You're going to a region that you may not be familiar with. What happens if I don't like it after a year or two?
Yeah, I would say transfers are probably our second favorite. Our top favorite player being somebody that's played men's league at a high level in their home country, and is older. A transfer's next favorite because they've been in this country for a little bit, maybe 1, 2, 3 seasons, and they understand the demands. As the three of us know from having played here, it's very different than soccer back home in our own country. So somebody that's been here in junior college at NAIA or at another Division III and has proven themselves and then wants to join us at a higher level is very valuable because maybe you are the best player on a not so great team, but we can see the value of your skill set. It's a position that we need, say a left-footed center back that's done really well in a different conference, and you want to come and then play at the highest level Division II. We love that. So if it's a major that we offer, if you're willing to come and maybe visit or practice with a team and see how you fit in with the squad, if your highlights from your previous institution are very good, if we're able to watch a full game from you in the NCAA, for example, that's really great. We love a transfer player because they've proven themselves. We love a junior college player because they've had to play a lot of minutes early on. They've had to fight to prove themselves, and they're trying to find that next fit to the next jump. But there's on average probably 3 to 6 transfers in every recruiting class that we have.
That's a lot, yeah. Good number.
Yeah.
Corbin,
this season,
when we look at the, you go ahead, finish.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, thinking through the class that I told you, we had Sam, Samuel, Mikey, all transfers, so that's 3 for sure. I'm probably missing somebody, but 3 guys that had significant impact on the team that were transfer students.
Okay. Corbin, when we look at the 2025 class, your roster, the upcoming roster, how far has the recruiting for 2025 gone, and how many spots are you still looking to find the right fit, as you said, and at what point in the year do you want to have recruiting finished latest?
Sure. Just talking out loud and positionally, we're still looking for a left-footed center back, a right-footed center back, a left back, a right back. So anybody across the back 4. That's where we've lost maybe the most with graduation. Looking for a goalkeeper as well. As I mentioned, we didn't think we needed a winger, but now we need one more, and then a center forward. So those are the main needs for our first team, and our development's similar. Our reserve squad is looking for center back, right back, wingers, and center forward. So for both teams, almost looking for everything except for central midfielders, where we have the most depth and the most numbers from quality and quantity. We're still actively looking for all those positions. We're looking, like I said, at different profiles. So there's still an opportunity for anybody that's listening to reach out to us and find your way if you fit those needs. We haven't sealed the deal on any of those positions yet. We have our favorites. We're watching full games. We spent our short break here between semesters watching highlights, watching a lot of full games, calling a lot of players and their coaches to find out who they are. So those maybe are the main positions we're looking for, and what we're looking to build heading into the next season. So there's a little bit of everything that we need to improve on. And like I said, you could be a true freshman, you could be an international, you could be a transfer from another university across junior college, NAIA, or another NCAA institution, we're open to all of that.
And at what point do you want to finish recruiting?
Yeah, I think it'd be great for us to maybe, as we head into the end of February, early March, be done. But we always leave room for recruiting after that. When I got here, like I said, in April, we were still looking for a couple spots. And if we'd used up all of our recruiting resources then and found a really good player in summer, we wouldn't have been able to do anything. But we had a player land in our lap in June, late June, early July, maybe even later than that. And we had the resources to recruit him this past summer, and he was an All-American this year. So if we had used all of our recruiting resources today, we wouldn't have been able to sign that player. So we're typically done by the spring, but we always are looking for maybe one or two special players into the summer that might show up, maybe they're not D1 eligible, or they've just decided that they're in their home country and they're done and they want to make the move to the US. But typically we want to be done by early spring.
Okay. Well, I want to point that out real quick because it's very important for our listeners. You know, they usually think recruiting ends in March, April for soccer, but that's not the case. There are certain spots available until late summer. And we just had that opportunity for a guy last year. He got an amazing offer, like really, really late. And he couldn't make it to the US because he didn't have his stuff done. You know, all the bureaucratic things you have to do besides soccer. So if you're ahead of yourself, if you're on top of things, you can get recruited to the US really, really late. Might happen in 3 weeks, everything, 4 weeks. So, yeah, but you have to be ready.
I agree. I think it falls into that being elite is having all your paperwork, your academics, your everything that you have control over. Obviously, with like visas and stuff, it just depends once your I-20 clears. But can you have everything under your control ready? Because this player that I told you about, it was probably a 3-week process. We had a Zoom, we watched a couple games, and then we said, yes, we want you. And then it was a mad dash to get him ready. I don't think there's a perfect timeline. You just create your own journey, but you need to be ready to make a decision. You need to have everything in order. You need to just have your own personal comprehension of what is the best fit. What do you want? Do you want to be at a small school, a big school? Do you want to be, what part of the country do you want to be in? Do you want to be a part of an elite team where maybe you don't play early on, or do you want to go to a middle level team and play a lot of minutes? Just have a clear understanding of what you want out of your college experience, and then be ready to move quickly when the opportunity presents itself.
Awesome. All right, Corbin, we're gonna let you go now so that you don't get stuck in the snowstorm. If there are players interested in joining your program, how should they reach out?
Yeah, so at the moment on our website, which is ucgoldeneagles.com, our head coach's email address is there. They can send them an email. And I can also, maybe through your channel, if you want to add this, I don't know how you would, I can give you my WhatsApp number that guys could reach out directly to me.
Yes, I will do so.
Okay. But that would be the easiest, and like we talked about in this episode and any that I've done with you guys, just do some research, figure out if we're a good fit for you, and just be very personable with your method of communication, and reach out to one of the coaches.
Awesome. Corbin, thank you so much. Have fun in the off season and good luck for next season.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for the time. Congrats again. And we can't wait to see what you guys have in store for next season.
Thanks, Manu. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Talk to you soon.